Dak Prescott and Dallas Cowboys, because this discussion has gone on for weeks and months, ever really since the 2020 season or 2019 season ended. Is the deal going to get done between Dak Prescott and the Cowboys? How much money is Dak going to get? How much is he worth? That's obviously been a lightning rod of a topic to discuss what Dak Prescott is worth. Is he worth franchise quarterback money? Should he reset the market? Dak is looking to, at least before Patrick Mahomes, reset the quarterback market, and get above $35 million a year. And so I'm curious because now the deadline for a long-term deal is Wednesday, July 15th, 4 o'clock. So we will have 2 days. We finally will have an answer one way or another. Either Dak's going to play on the franchise tag, or he's going to have a long-term deal and he's going to be in Dallas for a long time. And as we know, so far, at least the biggest contention point between the two sides isn't money. It's years. Cowboys going to lock Dak up to a long-term deal, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And Dak wants a shorter deal. He wants 3 or 4 years so he can become a free agent again in a few years. The salary cap's going to balloon, and he wants to cash in on another payday. And he realizes, especially at the quarterback position, if you can get 2 big-time contracts compared to 1 long one, you'll get more money with 2 big-time short contracts than you will with 1 long-term deal. So it's going to be about the years. Will the Cowboys pay enough money to make it worth it for Dak to sign a little bit longer? Or will the Cowboys relent, give Dak what he wants, and go to a shorter deal and have him return to free agency in 3 or 4 years? So the question, who's going to cave first? Who really needs to get this deal done? And to me, normally I feel like you would say the player, right? Normally it would be, especially in the NFL, when nothing's guaranteed, where you can get cut tomorrow. Your career is already as short as it is. You should get as much money as you possibly can. If the money's on the table, take it. Not in this case. I think the Cowboys need to get a long-term deal done, or are more motivated to and more desperate to get a deal done than Dak Prescott is. Because look at the situation. Dak Prescott has done something unprecedented for a player in his position. He's flipped the leverage towards his side. Now, for most players that are on the franchise tag, right, they're not happy about it. Players that are on the franchise tag want a long-term deal. Let's look to Kansas City. Their great defensive tackle, Chris Jones, is very upset that he got franchise tagged. He wants to have a long-term deal. He wants that long-term financial protection that he's going to have, get some more money in the long term. And a lot of other players are very upset because they want that big-time contract. They want that guaranteed money. They want that safety, that's monetary safety. But Dak Prescott, he looks at the writing on the wall. He sees what's coming down the pike. And if he goes year by year, he's going to make a lot more money than he does if he gets a long-term deal. So the franchise tag he already signed that he's going to play in under this year, unless he signs a long-term deal and renegotiates the money, he's guaranteed to make $31.5 million this year. Then it's going to be a 1-year deal. He's going to become a free agent yet again in 2021. And if the Cowboys want to go down this road again and they want to franchise tag him again, guess what? That money's going up. It's going to be $38 million, and that's guaranteed. So the longer Dak Prescott goes unsigned, the more expensive he gets. The floor for the money goes up, and not to mention, other quarterback salaries around him go up. We just saw Patrick Mahomes sign a $500 million contract, right? Dak Prescott's looking at that. He's, licking his chops. But so are other quarterbacks. DeShaun Watson, Lamar Jackson. Those are 2 other quarterbacks that, for Deshaun Watson could get an extension, possibly this year, if not early next year. And Lamar Jackson, if he repeats what he did in 2019, will get a contract extension as well. And if the Cowboys continue to wait, the Texans pay Deshaun Watson, the Ravens pay Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott just gets all the more expensive. That price just keeps on going up and going up and going up. So that's why the leverage is on Dak's side. And it's the rare occasion where the team is more desperate to get a long-term deal done now than the player is. Let's look at also, because this is a business, as we know, the NFL especially is a business. If we look at it from both the short-term and long-term perspectives, they both favor the Cowboys getting a deal done now. Short-term, as I mentioned, next year, no matter what happens, if the Cowboys franchise tag Dak Prescott, he'll make $38 million next year. But guess what? that is not taking into account, or that is, I should say, excluded from what the salary cap is going to happen. As you know, with the pandemic, we all think the NFL is going to be affected one way or another. And as you already saw, the NFL is already asking players to take a pay cut. They already put one proposal out that had the players taking a 35% pay cut for this year. The owners are going to suffer losses. And with that loss of revenue, means the salary cap is either going to stay the same as it is this year, or it's going to even decrease next year. And that's massive because, as we see with the NFL, the revenues just keep on increasing. The salary cap every year continues to go up. So every year, teams account for having more and more space to spend money. Well, now, if the salary cap stays the same for 2021 or even dips down a little bit and gets less than it is this year, no matter what happens, Dak Prescott's getting $38 million next year. That number's locked in. It doesn't go down because the NFL revenue goes down. The franchise tag is an average of the top 5 highest paid players at the position. So now, not only does Dak Prescott get more expensive next year, the financial flexibility the Cowboys have lessens. So they're going to have less money to spend, and Dak Prescott's going to get more expensive. So the short term, it favors the Cowboys getting a deal done and spreading that money out over a longer term. Not to mention, look at a little bit longer term perspective here. The TV contracts for the NFL expire in 2022. Why is that significant and why is that important? Because guess what? The NFL is going to get a boatload of money. Their revenue is going to increase in some contracts double. And these are already billion-dollar contracts that are expected to double. So when that happens in 2022, the salary cap is expected to explode. Possibly the salary cap could double. So there's going to be all of a sudden a lot more money now for these owners to spend. So what that means is if you get a deal done now, if you pay more for Dak Prescott up front, right now, in 2 or 3 years, that contract is going to be viewed as cheaper because all of a sudden now, you're going to have way more money to spend. It's not going to be taking up as big a percent on the cap as it would in 2020, 2021, and 2022. So sure, you take a short-term hit, you pay him more than you wanted to, or give him an extra year more than you wanted to. That contract will get cheaper in 2 to 3 years, and that'll be a long-term win for the Cowboys. So the short term favors them getting a deal done and get some financial flexibility in the short term. In the long term, it favors the Cowboys getting a deal done because that contract will only get cheaper as the more money comes in and floods the NFL. And not to mention, let's take a look around the NFL quarterbacking landscape. I'm not the biggest Dak Prescott fan myself. I don't think he can win a Super Bowl. I really don't. I think he's a good franchise quarterback. He's not elite, nowhere really close to elite. And I don't think he's going to be the quarterback to get the Cowboys to the promised land and get Jerry Jones another Lombardi trophy. But with that said, look around the landscape. Who right now is a better option for the Cowboys? Mitchell Trubisky? Because now you're going to start looking at who's going to be free agent next year. You already have Dak Prescott locked in for this year. Can't get a deal done. You want to sign a free agent instead. You have Andy Dalton on your team. Do you believe Andy Dalton's going to be the answer? Mitchell Trubisky? How about Ryan Fitzpatrick? How about that guy? Tyrod Taylor? There's not any quarterback on the market that's going to be appealing. Cam Newton, if he has a good year in New England, you think would be re-signed by the Patriots. If he has a bad year, no one wants to touch him with a 10-foot pole. There's really no options out there that the Cowboys could go plug in and get a better option and get a better chance to win a Super Bowl right now than Dak Prescott. And not to mention, okay, fine. No quarterbacks out there. No free agents out there. Can't really trade for a franchise guy. How about the draft? Let's look at the draft, right? I mean, you can find young, promising quarterbacks in the draft all the time. You have 2 promising prospects in Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields coming out. The issue for the Cowboys is they're too good to tank. They have too good of a roster to get a top draft spot to draft one of these guys. And look at this offense. You have Amari Cooper you just paid big-time money to. Michael Gallup's a great number 2 receiver. Zeke Elliott just gave a long-term contract to recently. They have a great offensive line. Defense lost a lot of pieces, but their offense is going to score a lot of points. Cowboys are going to be too good to tank, too good to be in the running for Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields or whoever comes out maybe in 2021 or 2022. So you're not going to have the opportunity to be in a position to draft one of these franchise-changing young quarterbacks. So look at all of that. The replacement value. The short-term deal that would hurt if they continue to franchise Dak Prescott, that would hurt them in the short term. The long term, that would help them if they get a deal done. And Dak Prescott flipping the leverage to his side. I look at the Cowboys as being way more desperate to get a deal done than Dak Prescott is. I want to read you this tweet that Adam Schefter had this morning. He was kind of going along the same lines of a deal getting done. And he put up and used a precedent that's already out there that's a great example of why Dak Prescott is in no rush to sign a contract. He's one of the few players in NFL history we've seen that has to get 10 with going year to year, that's betting on himself to get a massive payday down the road, and has the team that he's playing for desperate to sign him long term where he's not as into it. So Adam Schefter used the comparison of Kirk Cousins, who really, that's the precedent so far that's been set and kind of laid out the roadmap for Dak Prescott to follow this route of just getting franchise tagged, going year by year, then cashing out a massive deal. Go back to 2016, right? The Redskins were in the same exact boat as the Cowboys. They didn't know what to do with Kirk Cousins. They really liked him, thought he was a really good quarterback, didn't trust him or didn't think he was the guy to ultimately get him over the top. So they went year by year. They franchised him in 2016. Kirk Cousins plays well. They still don't really have their answer if he's the long-term guy or not. They franchised him again in 2017. Can't do it again in 2018 because it's way, way, way too expensive. The amount of money jumps up insanely amount in the third year. So they decided to let him walk. Kirk Cousins signs that massive deal with the Vikings, all guaranteed. And now you look at it. Adam Schefter put this out there. This is really interesting. Most cash earnings by a player from 2016 to 2020. This takes every single NFL player into account. Who's made the most cash in a 4-year span from 2016 to 2020? You know who number one in that list is? It's not Tom Brady. Not Russell Wilson. It's not Aaron Rodgers. All of that big-time contracts during that time. It's Kirk Cousins. Because Kirk Cousins went year by year, because he had all that guaranteed money, in the short term for the Redskins, then signed a massive deal, short-term deal, but a massive deal with the Vikings, he made the most cash of any single player in the NFL in that 4-year span. This is just 4 years ago. Dak Prescott looks at that and says, I'm in no rush. If he wants the most money, if he wants to finally get some revenge for being one of the lowest paid players in the NFL for 4 years, he absolutely is in no rush to get a deal done. Because he just saw what happened to Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins bet on himself, and it paid off in the end. Dak Prescott sees a $31.5 he'll make this year. He sees a $38 million next year guaranteed if the Cowboys franchise tag him again. And he says, you're going to have to blow me out of the water with a deal for me to sign it right now. So that's why, to me, the Cowboys, they're in a tough spot. They are desperate. They need this contract to get done by July 15th. Every day, every year that goes by, Dak Prescott gets more and more expensive, and it's harder and harder to keep him in Dallas. So I look at this entire situation with 2 days left to negotiate before a deal officially can't get done anymore. Who's more desperate to get a deal done? This is the rare case where it's the team, not the player. The Cowboys need this. Jerry Jones need this more than Dak Prescott does. So I'm curious your thoughts. Who in your mind needs to have it done, right? We rarely talk about a team being more desperate to get a deal done compared to a player. Usually it's always the player. The player is always trying to get as much money, try to give yourself some financial security as much as possible. Script has been flipped. It's the Cowboys. They need to get a deal done. So I'm curious your thoughts. Should a deal get done? Will a deal get done, and who is more desperate to get one done? Do the Cowboys need to sign Dak Prescott? Or does Dak Prescott need to sign a deal? Because it's also contingent on him playing well. That's how he cashes in. So if you think that maybe last year was the best it's going to get, you look at his playoff record, you look at his success in the playoffs, you look at his record and his stats against good defenses compared to bad defenses, maybe he needs to sign a deal before he gets exposed and misses out on a massive payday. So for me, I think it's the Cowboys. I think they are the ones who desperately need to get a deal done before Wednesday, July 15th at 4 o'clock.